Okay, so I must have tapped something. All right. I'll talk to you later because I really shouldn't be on the phone.
Oh, this,
All right.
this you can show, see this clear.
I must have tapped his number and didn't even realize it. Okay, I'm through talking.
All right.
All right. As I was saying, the land. As you remember the story in the Bible where God told Moses to go down to talk to Pharaoh, tell him to free his people. Amen. And the whole plan was to lead his people out of slavery into the promised land. The reason God promised the land, because everything comes from the land. All of your basic needs, it comes from the land. When you have the land, you have everything that you need. All of your 4 basic needs, clothing, food, all of your energy, housing, all of that comes from the land. Just imagine if you got land and you can grow crops for food, crops for to reproduce. You can grow cotton to make materials to make your clothing. You can also grow trees on your property. And you can use the trees to produce or to process the lumber to make your housing. If you want to do brick housing, block housing, all that comes from the land. You make bricks from dirt. Your cattle, all of your animals that you can raise on your property. On the land, from the land. They can eat from the crop that you grow on the land. You can use the hide from your cattle and the hogs to make leather products, leather shoes, coats, belts, hats. All of that comes from the land. And there's so many other things. I'm just tapping the surface on what comes from the land. Everything that we have, it comes from the land. All is in the land. Iron ore. All of that comes from the land. So all you have to do is figure out some kind of way to get that out of the land. Get those minerals from the land and you can survive. You know, we have to teach our children just that, the importance of the land. We don't know the importance of the land. You know, our children just think everything grows at the grocery store. They think milk is at the grocery store. They don't know milk comes from cows. They think all the food comes from the grocery store. But what happens if you don't have the money to go buy the food from the grocery store? If you don't know how to go out and raise the crop and get all of those minerals and products from your land, then you're always going to be in a position where somebody else can control you. And definitely if you don't have the land. There's an old African proverb Bishop always quotes, you know, that a man can't stand unless he stand on his own land. So it's so important to have your own land.
Yes,
everything. I mean, just think about it. Fish ponds. Whatever you want to do. You can't build buildings in the sky. You got to have land to put them on. So the land is so important. The land is so important.
So for how do you tell me some of the things that you do and how reach has affected you as a man?
Well, I guess about 4 years ago, we had a couple of visitors that came from Kenya, from the same area where Obama's father and grandfather is from. Anyway, they came here based on somebody that knew of us, invited them here to come and see what we were doing and hopefully get some ideas of themselves to go back and figure out, you know, well, maybe we can do something in our country to help ourselves. So they spent about a month and a half over here, and in return, my church sent me back over there to see.
To Kenya?
Sent me back to Kenya. I stayed over there 2.5 months. just to try to see, I guess, analyze everything and see what we could do, how what we are doing here could work over there. What was the possibilities? And when I got over there, you know, the possibilities over there was actually greater than here, because most of those people own their land. They own it already. And when we first started here at Reach, we had to pool our resources and buy the land. They already own the land. All they need to do is just decide we're gonna do this together. I mean, and it's a simple process. You know, I went over there and I seen everybody got their own little private farm. Some got one cow here, one cow over here, a hog over here, a hog over there. And all they need to do is, just like we pooled our money together years ago, all they have to do is pool their cattle and their hogs. I told them all you have to do is just dedicate a little piece of land and put all of the hogs collectively together in one spot. Only kill for food what you need. The rest of it, let it reproduce. Hogs have a litter every 2.5 times a year. That's every 4.5 months. They dropping a litter of pigs. And most time the litter is 8, 9, 10 at a time. In a year's time or 2 years' time, they're a major hog producer. But if they hadn't been taught that, and if they don't know the power of working together, they'll never accomplish that. And I saw that it just plain because of what Bishop Edwards has taught me here at Reach. And they could do the same thing with the cattle. They could do the same, and even here in America. We do it all the time down south. 4th of July time, it's time to barbecue. A lot of people, you know, friends that I knew when I was coming up, each family would go buy a hog, fatten the hog up and kill it for the 4th of July. And that's it. Next year they got to buy again. Next year after that they got to buy again. Okay, but what if everybody that went out and bought that hog decided, okay, hey, let's put all our hogs together and let's raise all our hogs together. Only kill on the 4th of July what we're gonna need to eat. You'd never have to buy another hog again.
That's right.
You would never.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in business. You selling hogs. But that's the power of together. That's the power of together.
Why do you think that message is so hard to get through the churches, to get through the black folk? What is your thinking on that?
Well, we wasn't taught that. You know, we were brought to this country as slaves. You know, nobody ever taught us that. We're educated in their school, and they're definitely not going to teach us that. The white man ain't going to teach us how to free ourselves. You know, that means that cuts into their economic pocket. If they can teach us how to free ourselves, then who's going, as Bishop said, who's going to let the cat out for them? Who's going to clean their house? You know, they make money off of us, so they're definitely not going to teach us how to free ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that message hadn't gotten out. But now God revealed this message to Bishop, and he's not keeping it to himself for himself and for his family. He's spreading that message to everybody that got an ear to hear. And that will work anywhere. That message will work anywhere. So no, you know, we just wasn't taught that. Now we have our own private school, and we have the ability to teach that to our children. And that needs to be taught all over the country. You know, first and foremost, you know, everything started from our church. Now, you know, a lot of people want to know, well, how can you get a group of black people to do what y'all do? You know, Bishop, how did you do that? You know, Bishop's message is, you know, I didn't do that. God did that. It's going to take God to hold a group of people together. And you know, there's history, a lot of statistics show, you know, a lot of black groups that's gotten money, gotten started in the business, trying to do some things together collectively. There's one thing always gets in the way: greed, money. Love of money, the Bible says, is the root of all evil. Ain't nothing wrong with money. Because it also said money is the answer to all things. So we know that we need money to acquire things. But when you get to where you love it, it's the root to all evil. So we've gotten to where we love money. Preachers has gotten to where they love money. Politicians has gotten to where they love money. And when you love money, the root to all evil. You got to get to where you love God's people. And God's just looking for somebody to love his people, and that's why he continues to bless Bishop Edwards, because Bishop Edwards loves his people. And love is not something you say, it's something that you show. And as long as and God is just looking for a man that loves his people. And as long as you continue to love his people, he's going to continue to bless you with more and more and more. If you keep giving to his people, he's going to keep giving to you.
Excuse me.
We were out too, and it's
all right.
Great. Wonderful. My goodness.
My church sent me down to Venezuela. Actually went down on a political effort. Really, they wanted us to observe their political or voting process. But in the, I guess during that process, we was able to see a lot of things and how things work down in Venezuela. At the time, President Chavez, he had this program that he was trying to implement across his country, where he set up community banks. In every, I guess every area, a certain geological area, a certain amount of people in that area, he would provide enough money there for that community to start their own bank. I mean, and it was actually working out pretty good. A lot of the people, they were able to, they used the people in that community to be the board of directors of their bank. They would call meetings every 2 weeks, I think, if I remember right, and sit down and they would have their meetings discussing what they're going to do with their bank. They would allow people from the community to come in with a business plan and present to the bank. You know, it was all business because this was money that had to be paid back. Even that community had to pay the government back, President Chavez back, whatever money that he had placed there. So individuals would bring the business plan. If it got approved, you know, they was able to set up their own business, and that worked pretty good.
Okay,
but the only downside to that was, it's just like I said earlier, you had certain people that didn't have a business mind, that didn't have a business plan. So that person got left out. That person got left out because they wasn't business minded. So it's still the same thing. The smart gonna take from the weak. Well, now the strong is gonna take from the weak, and the smart people are gonna take from the strong. It's still the same process. That poor person is gonna get left out. That person that don't have the ability or the education, they're gonna always get left out. But here, everybody benefits. Everybody benefits here. And that's what I love about reach. And that's why it works. This works for us. And it'll work anywhere. If you set the same model up, it'll work anywhere.
Great.
And we didn't do this for ourselves. You know, this land is not for me. It's for God's people. You know, we believe, you know, honestly believe that there are a lot of other people out there that need what we have. And we're not selfish. Our arms is wide open. Bishop's arms is wide open. It's for his people. This is for his people. And God gonna continue to bless us because we want to bless his people.
Now, y'all ran into a lot of opposition and people trying to take you down. Talk about that.
Oh, yes. Well, like I said earlier, this is the Deep South, and you know, they understand the land. They understand the value of land. So quite naturally, when a group of black people got their hands on some land, you know, they tried to take it. So yes, we've had a lot of opposition. In fact, in the middle of a lawsuit now, somebody filed a $6.7 million lawsuit against us with a writ of execution to try to take a lot of our land. Somebody told us, why won't you just settle? I told somebody, you know, somebody has to stand up and just stop settling. Just say, no, I'm not going to settle. You know, my mind goes back to the civil rights movement. You know, they settle. But one day, somebody decided, I'm just not going to settle no more. Rosa Parks decided, I just ain't going to get up out this seat no more. Martin Luther King just decided, you know, we just ain't going to do this no more. So many people just decided, if I got to go through this, if I got to put up with this, you know, I'm already dead. So I'll put my life on the line for freedom, because I don't want my children to go through this. It got to stop somewhere. So yeah, they're trying to take our land. You know, but the Bible says he promised us certain things, houses and lands, but with persecution. So we understand the persecution. We understand the persecution gonna bring on the blessings. So we know we don't put that much effort in that. We don't put too much thought in that. We just try to stay focused on what God has, you know, the job or the plan that God has, or the road he's placed us on, and just stay focused on that, and God gonna take care of us on that. So we're not worried about that. We already know in the end who's gonna win. So that's gonna happen. We expect that to happen. Anything good, the devil's gonna fight. So we understand that.
Now, it's been a few years since I was here, but I was here in the midst of the struggle to keep the truck stopped and everything.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so, do you feel that you have weathered that storm? And I know they were trying to take everything, but what happened?
Well, how we weathered the storm, we're still here. So the answer is yes. You know, God closes one door, but he opens up another. God teaches in precept and example. You know, God has you know, when we sing that song, somebody composed a song, Order My Steps. But we don't really know what that really means. When we ask God to order our steps, sometimes it seems like it might not be the way we want it to go. But if you just let God order your steps, the same process when we left Mississippi. You know, they basically ran us out of Mississippi. You know, who knows why? You know, but as long as we stay in God's will, it's going to be all right. So, no, they hadn't stopped us. You know, maybe they changed our direction a little bit from the way we wanted to go. But who knows if that's not the way God wanted us to go. We don't know that. So, you know, they think they were successful in something. But like I said, when one door closes, another door opens. So I think God got a lot in store for us. All we got to do is just stay focused. And it's coming up again. It's coming up again. God hadn't forgotten us. And all we have to do is just stay focused, and it's going to be all right.
Now, how would you frame this model for other black people? I think I asked you that, but I want you to. This, for me, is a great model.
Yes, sir.
That we can emulate. So what would you say to our people? Because most of our people right now, whichever way the system moves, we can't stand against it. Why?
Well, we're standing by ourselves. The only way to beat the system is you got to stand together. You know, there is strength in numbers, and that has been proven. You know, as far back, I was talking about the civil rights movement a little while ago. You know, there was a point when Martin Luther King was locked up and all the adults were just tired. Dr. Martin Luther King called on a young man out of Itabena, Mississippi, called Reverend James Bevel. But Reverend James Bevel came and spent some time with us in his last days before he died. But anyway, he called Reverend James Bevel, and James Bevel got a group of kids together and broke the back of segregation in Birmingham, Alabama. So there's strength in numbers. We can do a lot of things if we stick together. And it's got to start with our leaders. You know, our leaders got to, you know, the members will follow basically and do whatever the leaders say do. You know, so our leaders got to be, they got to take the front row seat in this and lead our people to the promised land. And it'll work. It'll work anywhere. What we're doing will work anywhere. All we got to do, we got to remember to do it together. And we got to keep God first. We got to keep God in our plan. And with God is he's the glue to hold it together. Without God, it's going to fall apart. So this model will work anywhere. We've created something here. Bishop has created something here where it doesn't matter what your educational level is. It doesn't matter what your economic level is. Everybody prosper. You could be the little old lady in the kitchen. You could be the guy that's cutting the grass, the young man that's cleaning up. It doesn't matter. In the book of Acts, they sold their possession and brought the worth of it and laid it down at the apostles' feet. And distribution was made to them according to their needs. And that's the system that we have. According to your needs. What are your needs? You know, if you need a house, I needed a house. I got 4 kids. I got a wife. I needed a house. I got a house. They didn't check my credit. They didn't check my background. I didn't have to put no money up. It didn't matter. Like I said, you could be the little old lady that don't have. You could be the young man that doesn't have an education. You might not have a business mind to be able to handle money, which a lot of our people don't have that. So what do you do? How do those people make it? How do those people prosper? The body of Christ is just that. It's a body. It's made up of a lot of members that makes up one body. And we as a church, if we make up the body of Christ, then we're responsible for every member of our body. You know, I ain't gonna cut in the wintertime if I'm cold. I ain't gonna just cover up my head and leave the rest of my body out. You know, I ain't gonna cover up my mix session and leave my feet out. I'm gonna put some boots on my socks on my foot, some gloves on my hand. I'm gonna cover my whole body. Nobody gets left out. No one gets left out. So we've created something here, or started something here at Reach, where nobody gets left out. You know, in our world and in our society, you get yours, I get mine. This is the land of opportunity. You know, that's what we live by. You go to school, you get your education. You go to school, get your education. If you're a little better at business than I am, then you do better than me. You get a bigger house than I do. I might have a house full of children. You don't have but 2. You got more than you need, and I don't have enough. That's the society we've created. But that's not the one that God created for us. And it has to change. It has to change. And we are changing it. Step by step, slowly by slow, we're changing it. And we hope that this model is spread across the country. I don't think it's going to spread like wildfire because we've gotten used to certain things in this country. We've got used to being independent. We've got used to having our own. We don't know anything about working together. We're not used to that. We at Reach wasn't used to that. So it was a gradual change. But the change, it works. I have a house, 4 kids, and a wife. I don't have to worry about where their food's coming from. I don't worry about my kids, where their clothes coming from, how they gonna go to school. I don't have to worry about it. You know, if I miss my payment, am I gonna get put out of my house? If I miss the notes on my car, I'm gonna lose my car. I don't have all those worries. If I got a doctor's appointment, the church take care of it. Dentist appointment, the church take care of it.
Well,
Whatever.
how do they take care of that? How do they take care of the financial
Well, everything,
aspects?
all the money that we make or generate from whatever we do, from our businesses, from selling crop, whatever we sell, all our money goes into one pot, a community treasure, so to speak. And then we have somebody that's responsible for each department. So when it comes down to what I need, I'm giving my gifts and my talents and my time to this. So if I need this, according to whatever I do within the organization, I'm able to get this. If I'm a farmer that works in the field, if I need a pickup truck to do what I do, I'm able to get a pickup truck. If I work in the office and I'm the person that handles business and I need an automobile to go back and forth to handle my business, we decide that, hey, we're going to get brother or we're going to get sister an automobile where they can handle our business. It's all about us. It's not about me, mine, and I. It's about us. It's about ours. It's about we. That's what it's about. And that's how it works. It eliminates the stress. It eliminates the pressure. We've created something here where I am free to use my gifts and my talents. When I come here at Reach, or when you come here at Reach, you don't have to worry about all these outside things, outside pressures that the average person have to deal with. I don't have that pressure. I don't have that pressure where, you know, if I miss a day at work, you know, I lose my job. I don't have that pressure. Like I say, if I can't make my house notes, my family gonna get put out. I don't have that pressure. If I lose my job, can't make no money, I can't make my payments, I'm gonna lose everything I got. We don't have that pressure. We don't have that pressure.
Well, how do you check and monitor the greed of individuals that sets up, you know, the platform for them to steal? And you know, how do you keep this thing together and keep people honest?
Well, we have honest people in certain places, in charge of certain things. And we also have a board of directors that check them.
Okay.
We have a board of directors here at Reach that make the major decisions. Everybody can't make the decisions. But we have a board of directors that make the major decisions. And then we have certain people in place that handle certain things, certain parts of the operation.
Mm-hmm.
So the decision is not just made by one person or 2 people. It's made by a board of directors.
Okay.
And nobody gets paid. Nobody gets a personal check. So if I steal, I'm stealing from myself.
Interesting.
So it doesn't make sense to steal. All I'm doing is stealing from myself. You know, we live in a neighborhood we own. So the house next door, even though I'm not living in it, is mine. So I have a concern for that house just like I have about mine. If a storm comes through and tear the roof off, we're gonna be over there fixing that roof because we know if it rains in there, it's gonna mess our house up. Grass need cutting, we got somebody to cut the grass, not just their grass in their front yard, but everybody's grass. It's a community thing. It's a community effort. It's all things common effort. And so when you don't have no big eyes and no little U's, somebody's making a six-figure salary, and somebody's making a four-figure salary or a two-figure salary, and then you got all this envy because you're doing more than you making more than I'm making. You're able to put better furniture in your house than I'm got in mine, and you're able to drive a nicer car than I have. You know, so that's where a lot of greed and stuff steps in. So that eliminates all of that, because it's not an issue about money. It's an issue about what we can do to better our situation, what we can do to help ourselves, what we can do to help others. So it eliminates that.
Now I remember you.
Yes.
All right.
This is my daughter.
Is that right? Give me a hug.
Patrice.
dog.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a seat. All right.
All
I'm
right.
so glad to see you all. So,
Again, but let me ask you a question if I don't know. I told you yesterday, everybody is saying, what happened? Is he still alive? Talk to the people.
yes, sir.
They want to know how you're doing and what has happened to you.
I'm doing great. And I've been not in hiding, but I've been on the farm. I've been working on the farm now for many, many years, and I just love it. And I guess we got acres and acres of corn, peanuts, and other things planted. So I'm just so glad to see you and Brother Oliver and daughter, you too. I'm tickled. I tell you, I feel like shouting, but this body won't cooperate. Brother Oliver, you know how it is. I'm 88 and you a day older than I am. So I'm so glad, and I want to say to all of you out there, praise the Lord and hello. Thank God.
Amen.
I'm so glad, Mr. Brown, that you came down and brought, not guests, but Sweetie here could be my guest. I'm going to let her be the guest, but and I'm so glad, I'm so thankful for it. And I would to God, I would have been able to take you to the farm and walk you through it, but I'm doing fine. Only thing, I have a little rash over the eye from shingles. But other than that, I've been doing great. So I'm in good health. I lost some weight, which I didn't need.
Yeah, I understand. Now, the last time we were here, you were in the midst of a tremendous struggle to keep the truck stopped and other things, and people saw that, but they don't know the outcome, and they were concerned what happened to you and what happened to that battle. So can you
It
talk?
was an attack. They attacked me because of what I was doing. If I had been doing it for myself, they would not have been, I guess, so vicious. But because I was doing it for the people, they know I had a group of people, and I was working with them, the truck stop, the motel, 3 motels, and shopping center. I was doing all that, and you know, that's going some for a black man. But, and I didn't need their help. I was doing things just like right now. When you get to the place, you don't need other people's help, that you can finance your own movement. Trouble breaks out. And we was able to survive it, but they took from me the motels, they took the shopping center, and they wanted to take the land, but so far I've been able to hold on to the land, 4,000 acres in the school and the plant. Me on the phone, it's Kent, his brother.
Oh,
And I thank God for this, but anyhow, I couldn't get no help. I couldn't get no attorneys to really stand up and help me at that particular time, and it just made hay bark for me. But somehow, God has blessed, and I've been able to keep the subdivision and the farmland and so forth, but they're trying to take the farmland now. But we're giving them a battle, and we promise we're gonna fight until the very end. We're gonna fight for what we got, because you can see our living quarters, brick houses, and street, the infrastructure, the fire plugs, all the city wouldn't help me, the county wouldn't help me, and the state wouldn't help me. We had to put in our own street, put in all our infrastructure, the fire hydrants, the facilities for water and everything. We had to do it all. Nobody would give us a hand, but we just kept right on going.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it tough for us, but we encouraged. We're certainly encouraged and happy to be left here this long to keep up the fight. But I'm hoping I can do it because it's about the people. It isn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most blessed thing I guess I could ask for, to try to help my own people.
Now, how are you trying to help them? I mean, I know what you're trying to do, but I want you to explain it in terms of the model that you have set up, and you have kept it alive and proved that this is the model for the people. But I'd like for you to talk about that and explain to people why this model works.
This model worked because of God. Without God, it would never work. But what I was trying to do, or what I'm trying to do right now, was show them that we can be self-sufficient, not independent, so we wouldn't have to look to nobody else, but our own survival, we could create our own jobs, build our own homes. We built all these houses without any help from the bank or any lending institution. All the farmland, 4,000 acres, the farm equipment, all this. We were trying to show the people that you can become self-sufficient. You can do some things for yourself. So we had a school and working now on a college. We got a professor here from Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. So we hoping to be able, by the time you get back, to have that started. But we're working on it. So that's what we talk about. We talk about independence. We're not talking about the other man's hotels, eating in his restaurants, and that and so forth, and him giving us a job, create our own jobs, and everything which make us self-sufficient, doing something for ourselves. It ain't the idea that all of us broke and don't have nothing, but it's difficult for us. We look at the Jews, they support one another, they help them. But our people has a little hang up there about helping one another. And I was showing them, if you work together, keep your hand, your nose clean, everything will work out for you. So that's where we are now. We got a big hog farm.
A big hog farm?
Yes, sir. I thought maybe you haven't seen our hog farm?
No. We didn't see the hog farm.
Hundreds and hundreds of head of hogs. And we got the cattle farm, the feedlot. Now, when I say feedlot, I know most people don't know what that means, because most people that's from down in the South, what they did many, many years ago, they raised the calf, and they raised the hog, and the man come around in the pickup truck and purchased the cow, or the calf rather, and the pigs, not the mother pig or the father pig, but just the pig, and so forth. That's what kept us where we had to depend on them. We never realized we could create our own jobs, and that has been my determination. That's what it still is, and I was proving that. At the shopping center in Demopolis, Alabama, I had 3 motels, 1 in Tuskegee, 2 here, and 1 in Utah, Alabama, and none in Livingston, Alabama, and thousands of acres of land, and got our own shop where we can work on our own equipment and so forth. So the many things that I was doing brought on the attack. But so, not somehow, but through the leading of the Lord and so forth, we was able to survive. We've been sick for the last 3 or 4 years. But we've been working on the plan. We ain't give up yet. 88 and a half years old. Ain't give up yet. Still ran and jumping, and I think that John Paul Jones said, I have not yet begun to fight.
I love it. I love it. So that people understand and can visualize how the attack on you came. Because in some ways, I guess it was legal from what I understand. But how did the banks and all these lawyers and pretty much the whole system converge to take that truck stop and all of those pieces?
Excuse me. Because they seen what we were doing and seen what I was preaching and teaching. Self-sufficient. So the truck stop, it's so easy, framed me out. They sent a person to me that encouraged me to buy it, but they had a trap set that I never paid for it. And of course I didn't know it at that time because I thought what we were doing, the people would understand. Somebody got to help us. There got to be a leader among our people. All the way back to Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Mary McCall Bethune, all the way down to Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Dr. King, all the way to Father Divine, Daddy Grace. All these people saw this many, many years ago, and all of them tried to do it. And the trouble, Marcus Garvey went to jail, they put him in prison and so forth. And of course, everybody knows the story on Dr. King, but most of them don't know that when you go all the way back through the Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth and all that, they don't know what happened. But Frederick Douglass had to leave this country. He had to go back to England. So what I'm saying, when they see what you're doing, that's when they come to kill it or to stop it, unless they got a hand in it. If they got a hand in it, but when it comes to self-sufficient, that makes a difference. Now when I say self-sufficient, the farm, the land, that's what God, when he drove even Adam from the garden, he sent them to the farm. Now I know people say that wasn't no city and that ain't saying anything, but he sent them to where they could live. You can live from the farm. Because everything that you consume, all the wear and everything come from the farm. And this is why our people many, many years ago didn't understand the farm, because they worked, and then they worked, it was taken from them. Whatever they earned, they take it. When you go back and trace down our history, we went against the farm, but they turned us against it by taking everything we had. So we didn't see hard work for nothing. But when they took the farm, they took from us self-sufficient. Because from the farm, that's where your apples, your oranges, your bananas, your peaches, every kind of vegetable come from there. Your produce and everything come from the farm, your clothing, from the sheep, from the cotton fields, all these things produce the clothing. So without the land, you become subject to whatever they say, and the prison is full of us. And they call us lazy and that and so forth, but what they done many years ago, this was set up so that we could never free ourselves. But the land is where you got to do it from. And that's what we've been doing through the land. So I was sorry this morning you all didn't get to see the corn.
We saw the corn.
The silo machine.
No.
You didn't see that because he had a flat way down the other end. And I hate that so bad because I want you to see that. That holds about a third of a car box, load of corn. It cuts the cone, picks it up, and blow it back into the wagon that we put it on. And I tell you, it's amazing. It's got all hydraulic. When we get to the pile, while we pile it, it takes it up and dump it and let it back in place and ready to go back to work. So but it's pulled by a tractor. And I was sorry we all didn't get a chance to see that. So you can see the tractors that we had. They are old models. When I say that, we had to.
Please.
So that's how things are set up. They set it up where, in fact, they set the trap for you. And you all can remember, any Bible student know that's what they did to Jesus when he was here. They set traps for him. But Jesus would not walk in their traps, and that was what they would set and tell him to come to them. He wouldn't. But he'd tell them to come to him, and they decide, we don't want to do that. But what can we say just when he asks them? let's tell them we don't know. But anyhow, that's what it's all about. But I'm so glad and so proud that I had an opportunity to talk with you all today and see some of the things that we're not just talking, it's what we're doing. We're doing that. And that's what the attack was all about. What we were doing and how we were doing it. If it had been personal, it wouldn't have been no argument. But doing what we were doing for the people, once they wake up and see what they can do for themselves, they're going to do it.
We were talking about how they went about undermining and how they just kind of converged all together. It's almost like instinctive for white folk to come together to undermine black people when they are working for their people. And that's what I wanted you to kind of explain, the pathology of that working together and how they worked it on you.
All right. I hate to say that. I was trying to get around it. Because, see, what they had to do, because we got independence where we could finance our own operation. So the only way they can get to us, they had to get some of us, our color, to come in and use them to try to destroy what we were doing. There were 3 young men, well, it wasn't young men, there's old men. 2 of them had been disbarred attorneys. Came in, and one was an ex-school teacher that was involved in the civil rights movement. So they sent them in that they might say that we did something wrong to them, and we didn't. We've always been from Acts 2:38. That's where our foundation comes from, where the Bible makes it very plain. The baptism in Jesus' name and the Holy Ghost. With the Holy Ghost is the Spirit of God. He said, without me, you can do nothing. That's when I went back to Frederick Douglass and all them back in that day didn't know it. He had to leave his country. But now, the only way we've survived is through.
No, I'm sorry. You're talking about Frederick Douglass or Marcus Garvey?
No, Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass had to leave his country?
Yes, sir. He left his country to go back to England. This was long before Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey came, and he had, well, what he was doing, well, most everybody knows the story. One of the people that was with him, one of his right-hand men, betrayed him and told what his plan was. He was telling them about a ship to take the people back to Africa, but that wasn't what was in his mind. He knew that they had to have transportation just like we have today, and at that time, the waterway was the only way you could do this.
Right.
And that's what he was trying to get the ships for, to use them as commercial vessels.
Right.
And when they found out that, well, one of his aides told him what he was getting ready to, what he was trying to do. And they arrested him and put him in prison. Then they made a deal with him. The deal they made, they let him out of jail if he'd go back to Jamaica and never come back to the United States again, because they saw what he was doing. And the answer was, he agreed. But my thinking, he ought to have been like Mandela. Went to prison and stayed there until his time was up and they released him to keep up what he had started. But that's how they ended. So that's what they're doing to us today. A lot of illegal stuff, but see, that we don't drink, we don't smoke, and these other things we don't do. And the red light district, we stay out of that. So when they seen the way we were going and what we were doing, it wasn't but one thing then that'll take the rug out from under. And they done that. That's how the truck stopped. We was tricked into that. I was, rather. And I laid my people into it because we were working to be self-sufficient. And this was one of, well, it wasn't the biggest, but it's almost one of the biggest truck stops in Livingston, well, in Alabama, so to speak, in Livingston. And they seen what we were doing, because we were self-sufficient. We had found a way that we could supply our own product or whatever that was to do it. And then they figured there ain't but one way to stop it. They couldn't say I did anything because I hadn't. And hands are clean, because whereas the state troopers, the sheriff department, FBI, CIA, if I was doing something crooked, I'd been in prison a long time ago. But because I was trying to do it right, they used these people to frame me now. They didn't try to buy our land. They were trying to take it. That's what they done with the truck stop. They didn't buy it. They took it. And that's what they did with the motels. They didn't buy them. They took them, because we couldn't get no lawyers to stand for what we were doing. And what I think they was holding, now I think this is holding our religion against us. That's holiness. And it's very difficult for one to defend the plan of God. But we didn't stop, regardless of what they took from us. They went through the legal channel to take it. That's what they're trying to do with us on the land.
Now, I wanted to go back just a little bit. You said three men.
Yes, sir.
So continue from talking about
There's
those.
3 men. 2 of them was ex-lawyers. One's in Mississippi, another was in North Carolina, that came here and I tried to help them. One of them had disbarred him. He didn't have no job and nowhere to stay, so we gave him a room in the motel, but we had no idea that he's working for someone else. And the one from Carolina came in also with the pretense of helping us. And we didn't know that he's gonna get with this fella and get with the other group and try to hurt us. And the man that was an ex-school teacher, we made him the manager of the garage, and we paid him every week. We paid him $750 a week, because he came to us as certified diesel mechanic. So we had our own shop right on the interstate. We went back in the woods somewhere, and that's where we was. We owned other property on the interstate, and they went through the legal channel to take that. The man that we bought the truck stop from, and then so forth, they got him to file bankruptcy. So what they done at that particular time, we went to the jury and he told us, make all your payments, don't get behind or nothing. So we done that. And through the bankruptcy, this is how they maneuvered to get the truck stop out from under us, and the motels. But we haven't stopped yet.
How did the bankruptcy affect you? Bankruptcy is when the other person said they can't pay their debts, but you were buying
That's
the
right.
truck stop. So how did that affect you?
Well, because the man that we was buying the truck stop from, they got him to go into bankruptcy. And we was buying the truck stop and we hadn't paid for it. But we had paid over $1 million into it. Somewhere around $1,300,000 we had paid into it. And when they got him to go into bankruptcy, then through that, the trustee told us we didn't have to pay any more till they come out of bankruptcy. Then when they came out of bankruptcy, this fellow, I don't know what happened to him. I haven't heard anything about it and so forth. But the demand for us was to pay it all. We owed, I don't know, about $900,000, something like that on it, because there's a huge truck stop.
Yes.
It wasn't something sitting on the side of the road. It's right on the interstate. And we were right by Livingston University. And we had access to 2 interstates. They was running together. That's 20 and 59. They come together in Birmingham and they separate right outside of Meridian, Mississippi. but we had the traffic from Palmerland, and we was doing a tremendous business. And that's how they got that from us and so forth. But I keep saying we haven't stopped. And as long as I live, I will keep on pounding this into men like, young men like Barry. It's a lot of them. And so forth, to tell them you can do something for yourself.
That's
You can
right.
create your own job. Now, that's the one thing we did. We sold peanuts. We created. And you know what they were saying at that time, peanuts was janky. But we know where that come from. We understood where it come from. But Planters and Tom, every time you get on the airplane, back then, that's what they brought you in the Coke. Sometimes. And they told me they were janky, but we roasted peanuts and sold them. We made a business out of it. Now we started in the stockyards, but we went to the stores and traveled across the United States, all except Hawaii and Alaska. But on this side of Hawaii and Alaska, every state we sold peanuts and we pooled our money. That's how we did it. We pooled our money, worked together. And by working together, we was able to do it. We didn't take a salary of our own. And the way I convinced them of that, I allowed them at one time to pay themselves. And I said, now when you start doing that, the first thing you do is you're gonna get crooked. One will start doing the thing you shouldn't do. So that's what happened. They kept that, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months. But then soon it came to an end because one would find something on sale and he would buy it and resell it to them for a certain price. Then they come to me and say, you're right, but one way for us to do it, that's to work together. And that's what we're doing now. We pool our resources. That's why we have a home for the aged here. The bank wouldn't let us have no money, no lending institution. As you know, all these houses you see here, we had to build them from our own strength. But we sold peanuts, and we went back to the farm. But one time, we had shopping, well, before the shopping center, we had supermarkets.
Yes, sir.
And we found out the supermarket, the wholesaler was selling us at one price and our competitors another price. So how we found that out was they had a black delivery boy, and he knew this, the different price, because he had the truck delivering the produce and everything. So what he done, he automatically dropped the ticket, what they had ordered, so we get a chance to see it. And one of our managers found it and called me and he showed me, said, look, they selling this, the same product, to us from one price and this man to another. So it wasn't no way we could compete with him. So when I saw that, I told him there's one thing to do. We got to go back to the farm. And we had to lease land. We didn't start out with our own land. We leased the land for 2 or 3 years. And we took that lease money and the selling of the peanuts and put it together and bought our own land. So we own the land, and right now, these 3 fellas, they used to sue us for $6,700,000. $6,700,000. Yes, sir. And a black jury signed the order for them to take our land. And we knew this, so we tried to get lawyers and that to help us. And the only way we could save our property, we had to file bankruptcy to do this. So till we could get a plan. So they wouldn't accept our plan. So right now, we're still in the fight, but we're going to win because God's on our side. Because we haven't stolen nothing, we haven't borrowed no money from nobody and wouldn't pay them. That's not the case. We found a way to finance our own operation, and that's where our trouble is right now. So I'm hoping you met the professor, but now, before this, another man came from Michigan, Wayne University, to help us set up a college, and they got to him with negative stuff and then so forth. And I said to him, I said, if all this is true, where is the chief of police? Where is the sheriff? Where is the state trooper? Where is the FBI, the CIA, and everything? Why don't they come and arrest us? We had to build our own community. This community here, we built an all brick home. We built it, our church, everything else. We did it ourselves. We didn't have no help to do it, and it was a struggle to do it, but we did it. And right now they taking everything but our housing and the farm, but they're trying to take the farm from us right now.
How can the black community at large help?
Well, they would more or less have to see and to see what could be done. Now, when you said the blacks as a whole, the churches, the mega churches, could do a lot of things to help us. But because of our religion, that's holiness. That means, straight down the road. So I guess that's what stopped them from helping us. And the negative stuff, they put it out there on Facebook and everything else to stop us. And that's how it works. See, they can, right now, the laptop and all this made the playing field even. Technology, just like with the cameras here. See, once you had to have somebody have lug it around in a suitcase, look what you got now. It do the same thing. So technology, they using that now to destroy us. But we've got the land, and we have to finance. We had to first buy the land. We had to buy the land, and not through no lending institution. We had to go to the auctions and buy the land because they seen what we were doing and wouldn't allow us to. But they wouldn't loan us the money to do this because this is fair freedom. See, when you can finance your own operation, that's freedom. But other than that, we sang the song, free at last, thank God Almighty, but we ain't free. We're not free. But when you can finance your own movement and so forth, and don't have to go to them, that's when they're zeroing on. The them is the other race. So you can't be angry with them. You can't get a gun and go out and try to get eaten, because that's not according to God. You have to take what God say, and that love everybody. If you love everybody, you have to even love your enemy. And that makes it really tough. But we hanging tough, because we know we got to do it. If we don't do it, I don't know who's going to do it. But we got to do it, so that's what we're doing. So all the corn you've seen today, you've seen acres and acres of corn, but you didn't get to see the machine that we got. And we had to buy that used machine. And we fixed it up. We got our own shop that we can fix our own equipment in. And that's how we're doing what we're doing now. We got cattle. We got hundreds of head of cattle. Now, we can take them to the stockyard and sell them by the trailer load. Did you see our trailer that's out there behind the truck?
Yeah.
On 1090, when you went through the gate.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. The trailer, that's what we used to transport our cows.
Did we see it?
Yeah, you had to. Cause
We drove right by after this. I don't think we was paying attention. It was a blue trailer
Okay.
and a pickup truck.
All right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I did see that.
it's a cattle
Yeah.
trailer.
Cattle trailer. That's what it is. That's the way we transport our stuff back and forth to the stockyard. And we had to grow step by step. We first had to rent the land, then we had to purchase the land, then we had to buy the equipment to work the land, then we had to buy the seeds to plant, then the fertilizer, and that for the seeds. We done all this step by step. That's why it taken us so long to do it, because there was no lending institution would help us.
Let me interject. I really feel that the Creator has called black people to leadership.
That's right.
I believe that the Creator has called us to rise up and take leadership of this country, and then lead this country to bring about peace in the world, because this is the major disturber with his capitalism and his war machine that brings about so much destruction on the planet. But I believe that the Creator has called us to leadership, to rise up and make America the democratic space. And only black people can do that, because we're the only ones who are not free. So we ever find freedom, everybody else got freedom and democracy. But I would like for you to kind of talk to us about that, because I believe that that message is also placed in your heart.
It's very, very important. You see, we have to know our own history. So when they went to Africa to get us, we were sold by our own people. We were brought here. Now, they were not aware that the Bible speaks of nigger. So they want to create just like the robots. So what they did was create a nigger. And if you've seen the film Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, little girl asks her mother, "What's a nigger?" And she said, "He don't know nothing, he don't act nothing, and he content where he is, in his own place." So bringing us here, it was first against the law to teach us, because they know as long as we didn't know we was in the dark, we'd enjoy the dark. We wouldn't know nothing about light. But anyhow, somehow, someone, I can't think who it was, said now, said, but if you educate him, he'll make you a better servant. But he knew in his heart, once we was educated, we would find out why we was brought here. Regard to that, then we in a place where we can help our own people. And that's what we're trying to do now. We help in Africa. We send a lot of equipment over there. But they know the miseducation of the Negro. When they could no longer keep us in the dark on that. So they misled us. We read about the cattle, but we didn't know anything about the cows and the markets and so forth. They told us a cow jumped over the moon. So that was what we were reading about. And they told us about old Spot and the pony, all this stuff. But they didn't tell us the value of it, so we didn't know the value of it. So what we didn't understand was what he understood, and that was the land. The land brought forth all the produce, everything you use. So he made it hard for us. Now, you can see it coming to pass. Everything they allow us to get in, we go to the top. Now, some of us don't appreciate, well, you go back to boxing. See, Jack Johnson. Look what he done. You know, I don't want to criticize nobody, because everything was bringing us this way. But we go to the top, and everything they allow us to get in. Long time before they let us into football. When they did, they wouldn't let us be quarterbacks. But they found that we could read the numbers and could play and could throw this for anybody else. Baseball had not been for Jackie Robinson. As many players were just as good as Jackie Robinson. That was in my day. And so that was kind of in your day. See, Jackie Robinson didn't give up. Branch Rickey put the pressure on him and told him about if he slide into a base and the fella there jump on him and hit him in the face, can't see nothing but the black face. And he said, Mr. Rickey, I got two sides. He understood the Bible said, if the smoke you on this cheek, turn the other. So he realized that. And look at Hank Aaron. Look, well, the threats that he got, the telephone calls that he got, and the telegram, if he break Baby Ruth's record. But you know, I'm glad Jackie didn't stop. I'm glad today, look what some of the ball players making. 6 figures. They making millions. Now, that's over years. And wasn't long, but it was a long time before they thought we could manage. Because one of the Dodgers lost, I can't think of his name now, but he lost his position because he could say, we black could hit the ball, we could run the bases, but we couldn't manage the team. But I would to God, he could see today what the black managers are doing. But that's the way it is in sports and everything else. Most of us in God, look what happened. Anytime we get a fair chance, we go to the top. Look at the Williamsons. I know Arthur Ashe and all that. But the Williamsons, look what they done when they got a chance. They went to the top. Everything that you can name, all kinds of sports. If we get a chance, we could work our way to the top. But the most important thing is freedom. We got to understand what freedom really is. It isn't making a lot of money. It's being self-sufficient, being able to be a part of this, to sell your product, to make it. And that's what makes it even. And that's what we're at now. And coming down to Obama, we are so glad for him and then so forth. But excuse me, he can't help the person like me. Now, most people down on Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, I don't mean to say, but President Bill Clinton, but he sent, years ago, the first black man that he made Secretary of Agriculture. His name doesn't come to me.
I know who you mean,
In
but I can't
Mississippi.
think of his name either.
Yeah, in Mississippi. Well as I know his name.
Yeah.
'Cause he came here. He came, Bill Clinton sent him here to see what we were doing. At that time, we had the hog establishment, we had the cattle to feed our lot, and then so forth. So all these things really got us into trouble. And then politics, as far as that, I have, and Brad, we couldn't find the other day, years ago, President Reagan. I got an invitation. I got an invitation to his inauguration.
Yes, sir.
And Governor Winter of Mississippi, I helped put him in, and the Senator Thad Cochran. Now, you know, just a few weeks, a month or so ago, he won the election again, but that was through black folk,
Right.
which was Democrats that switched over and voted in the Republican primaries and so forth to help him get there. Well, when he first got there, I'm the man that helped him to get there. I was in politics up to here, and when Bush talked about Horton prison and so forth, I know about that because I was in Mississippi. I was either the first or the second Democrat that turned Republican in Mississippi. I turned Republican because I saw what the Democrats were doing to us at that time. So I joined the Republican Party. And I got letters now from President Bush. I ain't talking about the letters they sent out. I'm talking about private mail from you. And when I was Democrat, Sigma, is I got his name right?
Yes, sir.
Sigma,
Governor Sigma.
Governor Sigma, made me an honorary colonel. Because when he talked to me and found out my ranking was in the Navy, Seaman Second, he said, man, how did they overlook you? I said, I never did get to them. I was with the class of the lowest class in there, and I never, but he made me honorary colonel. I have a certificate and everything over there because they seen what I was doing. They had my people. See, all white people isn't bad folk. But you got what they call rednecks. They're the one. But it wasn't why you run to one that really understand what you're trying to do. And see, yes, I'm thinking now like Obama. Barack Obama. Look where he is. And look who he beat out to get there. Nobody knew nothing about him because he wasn't in the Senate that long. But somehow God ruled it. That's what I like what you were saying a while ago. Somehow God ruled it.
Yes.
That he ended up there. And you see what they trying to do to them now. They call them Republicans. Care what they call them, they rednecks. So he can't do nothing right to suit them. So that lets us know where we stand. But I know the old people said many years ago, the bottom rail would come to the top. And that's what's happening right now. They didn't know this from economic standards, but they had a feeling that one day the black man would rise from where he was. And I tell you, I'm so glad I'm 88 to have a chance to see this. See, I know when Social Security first come out, my Social Security number 422-20-9216. Well, that's way back. That's been 80 years ago. But I knew somehow that we have to keep fighting for that which is right.
Yes.
And I believe the black man one of these days is going to come to the top and realize he can't be there by himself. He got to take some of us with him. And when that time comes, I think Obama is the first product of that. And we see how they treating, abusing him and all the things they're saying about him.
That's right.
But he's a smart man. He have to be. Because if not, they would have trapped him a long time ago.
That's true.
So that ought to give us a little hope. That ought to wake us up to see what they do against us, regardless of how far we rise up. They can always be there to knock you down.
I'm not going to ask you a whole lot of questions. I think you've been wonderful and give us that. But I do want you to give us kind of projection. I know that you had processing
That's right.
plants in the past, and I know that if you could reconstitute those processing plants for your meat and so forth. I just see that what you're doing. I don't. That's why I asked you to kind of help. That could be. I know the distribution. It's the markets. How do we get the product to the markets in our community so that y'all can have these outlets and you can thrive? It's the trucks that with the refrigeration. It's I'm sure you've thought it through more than me, but if we could get those things hooked, then this mall would take off like wildfire. It's the markets and the delivery system that has not been connected and controlled by us. So if you could just speak to that, kind of give us the missing pieces that we need to put in, and have you thought about how we can do those?
Yes, we were doing that. You see, that's one of the things brought the system down on us. You see, we had meat markets, because I told them, if you're raising the hog and the cattle, you got to go from A to Z. In other words, Z is where the consumer is. You got to start there and go that way. You got to raise your own. That's the reason why we had the hog farm. That's why we still have it, and I'm hoping to do a lot of things with it next year. But the cattle farm, that's the reason why we have, I guess we the only blacks in America that has a feedlot where you top out your cattle. The calf, we sold them to the other man, and he took them and fed them out and turned them into dollars. That's the beef, hamburgers, the steak houses, and everything. If you can raise that, the pork chop, the bacon, the ham, you got to be able to start there and control that all the way. We sent produce. We sent meat into Michigan and into Illinois and into Maryland. Yes, sir. We were really operating.
You had your own trucks?
We had our own trucks. Yes, sir. We had our own trucks. And that's the only way. We got to become a part of producing our own product and delivering it to us, so we had our own market, supermarket. So they seen the way we were going. Now when I say we, notice I don't say I, but I say we, because I had to do it through the church. Because most of us doesn't understand self-sufficient. We think food stamps and Social Security is it. Now, it's right to get Social Security because that's what we work for.
That's right.
And I know when that person come out through Roosevelt, he's president at that time. And as I told you, my Social Security number is 80 years old. And I'm hanging on to it. Now, but I'm teaching our people, we got to become self-sufficient. The only way we can do it, we have to pool our resources, because we can't do it by yourself. And through the church, it can be done. Now, if you take the Mormons, look what they've done. The House of David that was in Michigan. Now, that's where I first recognized this, from Michigan, the House of David. They had where they produced it through, I think it was called, what was it called, Star David, something like that. I can't think of what it was, but anyhow, the House of David. And they produced everything they needed to survive. And I seen that it could be done.
Yes, absolutely.
But we wouldn't do it by ourselves. So when I set out to do it, I realized you had to raise your own.
Yes, hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well. You know, a lot of people really around the world who saw that first documentary wondered what happened to Bishop. Were they destroyed in the process of the people trying to take their land? Did they take it? What happened to them? So I'm back and I see you coming out of the church, and I want you to talk about the community that y'all have built here and why you feel the way you feel about it.
Well, we're glad to have you back, first of all. And I mean, I feel this way because, for one thing, I have blood, sweat, and tears in this. And then I have grandchildren that can ride up and down this street without any fear of being abducted, without any fear of being hit by a car. We have little boys that ride in their little cars, and our cars will stop for them because we all family here. And everything you see, we have worked together to build it up. Yeah, there was a throwback back in 2006, and the devil tried to stop us, but he couldn't do that because God is on our side, and this is of God. So there's a scripture that said, if it had not been the Lord on our side, couldn't have even been my mother or father. They would support me, but it had to be God on our side to help us survive, and we have survived and we've prospered. You should see the farm that we have. 1,174 acres of land that's planted. Some of it has cattle on it, and the Lord is still blessing us. We are still prospering. We got an orchard out there that we didn't have before, and so we're still surviving. You tell anybody that asks you, we're still here. They should come and see us. The Lord is still blessing us. We're still lifting Him up, and He's still holding us up.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You look familiar, sir.
Well, I'm Minister Clemson Brown. I'm a videographer, and I did a documentary on Bishop about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And people...
Were we not?
That's right.
We were talking about going video. No one wanted to put their face on it, starting with me. You know. No. Then we came up with audio, and he has a copy of an audio that would be wonderful to your video.
Thank you.
It is absolutely apropos for
Now,
your video.
if I can have you introduce yourself and help people understand what is happening and how y'all faring and what do champions look like?
Well, my name is David Smith. I'm from the Chicago area, specifically Schaumburg, Illinois. And I first met Bishop probably 22 years ago. And the contingent of us came, when I say us, myself and several other educators came down from Chicago to see what we can contribute in terms of the educational system here that they've done so big and wonderful of a job with. I taught for 6 years at University of Illinois in industrial design. And that's where you take products from concept to market. So I've designed everything from the interior of tanks to spoons. Did a lot of work with a very famous designer by the name of Ristamati Ratia. And went on to get an MBA. Done some more instructions at IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, where we taught students from China, master degree students from China concerning not-for-profits here in the United States. You remember when the Chinese and the Asians would come over here with cameras?
Right.
And look at what they were doing here in America? Well, now they're coming over with cameras, etc., analysis to see how our not-for-profit system works. And I taught that course for about a year at the Illinois Institute of Technology. So how did I get here today? God put it on my heart that this work was not finished. And maybe about a year ago, I came down here to see Bishop. And he was, I would call it recovering from the illness. And after talking with him, it wasn't later on that God said, Dave, you got to go back down there and help Bishop. He's shown me kindness over the years. And he was someone who I respected. I've met a lot of important people. And I tell you, he ranks up there, way up there. And to see what's kind of happening here as they, when I said they, the powers that be kind of want to destroy this, for the record, it breaks my heart. Maybe some of your listeners, audience would know about Greylord in the city of Chicago, would have heard about that. The largest indictment of judges in the United States. It was an effort to break up some of the mob.
Right.
You're familiar with it, Greylord?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I was subpoenaed for Greylord, not because I'm a judge or anything, but because I was in the same room where people were doing their thing, and we're on camera. So I see that this evil cabal down here attacking Reach, and it just is reminiscent of some of the gang activity. When I say gang activity, I'm talking about gangs with shirt and ties,
Right.
okay? And black robes.
Yeah.
Of the gang activity that occurred in Chicago under Greylord. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the sheet pulled back so people can see that. The light turned on so people can see that. If this media can be part of that, turning the light on so people can see what's really going on here, what's really destroying, and after to destroy this wonderful group of people and wonderful effort, then that's what I'd like to see happen. Yeah.
Thank you. No, go ahead. I don't want to stop.
Your New York Times, gentleman by the name of Jack Hitt, one of the reporters for the business business section of the New York Times, did a piece on myself and one of my clients back in October the 20th, I believe it aired. It was such a wonderful story. Like this can be such a wonderful story. And of course, well, let me tell you what they did in the New York Times. They held up printing and releasing their new business section for a story on myself and a client. A story of how, against all odds, something occurred in a great way. There's something here about to occur in a great way. I don't know what presses you're in charge of, but this is something that they should hold the presses for. Because this takes me back to not only Chicago, but to Selma, the March of Selma.
Yeah.
Where the governor sent the state troopers to stop the progress of a group of people that had enough guts to stand up. And that's what's happening right here. These people have enough guts to stand against the odds. And my goodness gracious, I'm going to do my best to get
Be on tape with a cigarette in my mouth.
I appreciate that.
How about that, sir?
That's fine. Yeah, keep coming around. Right. Okay. That's good. That's great. Okay. All right. Let me ask you if you would kind of introduce yourself to us. And you live here in this community?
I do not. I live in Chicago.
You live in Chicago?
I do live in Chicago. I've been here now since Tuesday of this past week. And I came specifically down here to assist what I call the community. I call this entire way of living under Bishop Edwards, the community. So if you hear me refer to that, that's what I'm speaking of.
All right.
Everything that they build and are doing down here, I consider our basic roots of community. And so having a background and inclination to work in the legal field. I came down to assist in combing through their documents, all of their legal documents and issues based on the attacks and the judicial errors and judicial misconducts that have occurred with their litigations. I have found, I find it ironic that today, of all days, I happen to wear all black, as if I were going to a funeral. Today was kind of a pivotal day for me because I truly wanted to target in on some ideologies that we all live by, which is justice. And I came here today, even though I've been locked in a room, so to speak, and not locked per se, but locked in my mind, locked in a room. Just me, paper, and the brothers and sisters of the community.
Right.
To find answers, to find a reason why there is a death of the law in Alabama.
Right.
And that's why I juxtapose it with wearing black. It's almost like I've gone to a funeral, because there is a death of the law here that has taken place for the past, at least as I've reviewed the documentation, the past 4 to 5 years. I'm appalled. It's an outcry, and should I or anyone with a similar love for the judicial system mean that it should work properly, if anyone has an understanding for wanting the law to work right and work properly, you'd be appalled at some of the events that have occurred in terms of judicial misconduct. And so, without making this too much of a scream for one entity's rights, I think what's most important here is truly should be a scream for all people's rights, because if one community can find itself under a state's thumb of judicial misconduct, then that leaves us all open, whether we're from Chicago or whether we're from New York or whether we're from Puerto Rico or whether we're from anywhere USA. That would put us in a precarious situation of finding it okay to be infiltrated with injustice. And so I think it's important to say this, that it's not okay to say that, oh, that's just them, and oh, that's a religious organization, oh no, that's just those black people, or oh, that's just those whatever. It is any group, any organization, any entity that finds itself at the back end of the stick of injustice means that we're all at the back end of the stick of injustice. And if you don't find that to be true, you shouldn't be watching this at all. You should just be enjoying life and moving on. I don't know what else it is you want me to talk about, because I'm on the legal side of everything going on down here. I find this to be refreshing, having come from a quite urban environment. I grew up in a suburb of Chicago. I understand the rights to freedoms. What I don't understand is that a community can live and prosper and work towards the growth of human development, work towards the growth of us as humans, and still be prosecuted with impunity all the way up to a Supreme Court level. It's as though, having come down here, albeit I know this is the year 2014, I feel as though I'm in the pre-civil rights era. when I read paper. May not be overt, walking around the town or going to the local gas station. It's not something that's overt, but I have been able to surmise in my minimum 4 days here that a community can be under attack and everyone just keep on going. Not realizing that if you, in fact, sit by and watch something that's not you under attack, and you not get prompted, nor compelled, nor inspired to want to participate or to even support, you yourself is just as egregious as the injustice itself. Now, that being said, I was talking with Brother Walker and I was talking with Brother Smith yesterday, and I was sharing with them just a thought. What if Lady Justice had a pair of 20/20 eyes, but she also held an ill-calibrated, secretly devised set of scales? Is that not an absolute travesty, a tragic experience with the American judicial system? For Lady Justice to actually be able to see, but then to have these scales that for some ungodly, unheavenly, unghostly reason will never balance out. That's not our version of Lady Justice. It's just not. But if you were to come into Utah, Alabama, if you were to come into the community, you would find that she can see, and she got a set of scales that just don't weigh out.
Brother Tony.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's been a long time. You was in our first documentary.
Yes, sir.
Out learning how to work tractors and plow, level land and move hills. And how have you been doing what is happening? And people want to know what happened to you and the rest of this community. So let people know what happened. What's happening with you now and what has brought you to this point?
Well, actually, to revise everything, my name is Tony Tapvideo. I've been here since 1994.
Now, where are you from?
From Queens, New York.
Okay.
Queens, New York City. I came here because my mom wanted to find a place where she know her child would be raised upright. The environment at that time was terrible for our youth. And she know by her being a single parent, I needed more guidance. So it touched her heart through Pastor Butler at that time, a pastor that she dealt with at the time. It touched her heart to see what Reach was all about. So she contacted the church, and Bishop, like he always say, come on. He always have an open arms, say to come on to the church. And she brought me down here to visit, but I've been here ever since. 21 years later, I'm still here. A lot of people started out with me. A lot of them are not here at the time, but I'm so grateful that God had a purpose for me here. During my time being here, at the age of 6 years old, I've learned how to operate machinery. I've learned how to do interior, exterior work. I've learned how to do mechanical work. I'm married now. God has placed me in a unique position at the University of Alabama. I am the warehouse manager there, which consists of all of the concession stands. We usually tend to 103,000 people. And I can say that God is great, and He is truly greatly to be praised. And I just like to tell everybody that's out there and listening to me right now, that if God did it for me, if He did it for a young lad of a boy from the worst part of New York City in Queens, if He did it for me, He can do it for you. I'm happily I'm happily married. I'm so excited to be a saint. I'm giving back to my church. Somebody asked me the other day, said, why are you still there? I found out, I came to myself that I don't want to go back to where I used to be. And I want to give back to the church, and I want to give to God, because He is the first thing of my life. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
No.
But you do know that it was
Windy day in November.
cold windy day in November. I would venture to say 2010,
It's 2014.
2014, November 2000.
No, I'm sorry, 2013.
I'm sorry, yes,
Last
of
year,
course, 2013. So this was a cold November day in 2013.
Yes.
During
And
a
let me
March.
give you a little background on it.
All right, thank you.
Due to the lawsuit that we was going through, and it seemed like every road that we went down, we ran into a dead end. That's what attorneys, everything that we tried to do, it just seemed like we wasn't getting anywhere. So our bishop thought it would be a great idea to bring some attention, some live, real attention to them. Put them on the defense a little bit, and we get on the offense. So we set out to do a protest march around the courthouse square in Suffolk County, Alabama, and Livingston, Alabama. And they had some restrictions on us. I think we can only do like 10 people at a time. I think it was from 9 to 2 every day, weekdays. But we didn't fight that. We tried to follow the rules, and we had a peaceful protest. The protest, the permit lasted for a month. After the first month, we didn't get the results that we wanted. We reapplied for another permit. They gave us a second permit. After the second permit expired, we applied for a third permit. On the third try, they told us, no, we're not going to give you another permit. We looked up our laws, our rights, constitutional rights.
That's right.
Constitutional rights says we have a right to protest peacefully. And that's what we were doing. In fact, we told them we was coming anyway. They told us, if you come, we're going to pick you. You're going to be asked to leave, and if you didn't leave, we're going to pick you up. We told them we was on the way. You know, we got land, we got over 4,000 acres of land that the members here at Reach worked very hard for, struggled for a long time.
Blood, sweat, and
Nobody
tears.
gave it to us. We worked hard for it. And we wasn't going to settle for that. We wasn't going to just roll over and say, here you go. No, we was going to die fighting for it. We was going to die trying. You know, we got senior citizens in our church. We got young people that's going to inherit this land. No way were we going to just lay down and say, here you go. So we went anyway. And I wrote this poem just for that purpose. I wrote this poem. I'm going to try to recite it to you.
Yeah.
It's entitled, A Cold Windy Day in November. It was a cold windy day in November. Legs was tired, my feet were aching, hands were cold, tree limbs were shaking. City police, we seen them come and we seen them go. But no one stopped to say you can't walk no more. But earlier that day we were told that if they saw us walking, that we would have to go. But now I don't know about you, but I've never been the one to turn my back, tuck my tail, and run. See, now the reason we're walking, because somebody out there is trying to steal our land. Not legally, but illegally snatch it out of our hands. The very thing that God promised to give, somebody out there is trying to steal. And all we want is justice, nothing more and nothing less. And as far as the law is concerned, all we want is due process. And just as the civil rights song goes, we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. But we are determined to stand our ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I missed one part in that.
That's okay,
But
because
that's okay.
he's going to, if he has access to email.
All right. So this is your little cubby
This is
hole.
my cubby hole. This is my room of, this is my think tank.
I hear you.
Yes, indeed, in the name of God, all glory be to him. Because without him, I wouldn't be able to filter my way through and cipher through answers. I seek answers, and I seek answers for justice, and I will find it here.
That's interesting. I'm going to have a product with market. Really. I'm putting together an archive of 100 DVDs that cover African history from the origins and land to issues and events of today. In fact, this tape will be in that document because Bishop is the model to us developing communities. So we're trying to cover everything. So,
Beautiful.
and
I was telling somebody that this could make someone's career in terms of journalism. It really makes someone's
this is you know, but a lot of people will see it and not see it. But this is the diamond in the rough. It really is. And it's the key to our liberation.
It needs the right marketing, the right publicity. You know, they've done their campaign, smear campaign. I was telling the professor some years back. I remember when Jim Jones, the guy in the tragedy happened.
Right.
And I remember in Livingston, Alabama, Sumter County Journal, they had on the front page Jim Jones and the guy in the tragedy / Bishop Evans in the Holy Land. Will it be another guy in the tragedy? So the average black person, when they read that,
that's some of that stuff that's on the internet too.
That's the kind of campaign that's been ran.
That's why we couldn't get no help before.
Yeah. And it's the same way with the farm. They see the value of the land. They know what it means. See, but all we see on television is black folks out in the field working, and slaves, and
you know what?
You know what? They don't want to. They don't want
narrative. We can get it to Jack here.
Well, Bishop, I've spoken with many people living in the community and people who know of you and who have come one way or another down to assist the community. And they have spoken so well of you.
Thank you.
And they understand deeply what you are doing and the sacrifice that you have made. So again, I'm back, and I just want you to continue to talk to us about the necessity to understand this process and kind of guide us on through. You were, I forgot where we left off, but I take it from wherever you want to take it.
All right, thank you, sir. But most people misunderstand what we're doing and what we're about. We're about our people as a whole, not different from any other people, but making sure that we stand our ground. That is, from an economic standpoint, political, or any other means that we can do to help ourselves. See, because at this time, our history has been, I guess, I ain't gonna say destroyed, but it's been kept back from us. We haven't had a chance to really understand the reason we were brought to this country only to be slaves, but not so to manipulate us, our minds, where we would never work together. Because the old saying, divide and conquer. And that's the thing that look like this system is built on, keeping us from uniting ourselves together to make progress to help ourselves. That means what we produce and direct, that we could sell to other countries and become a part of America. Because America is made up of immigrants from every standpoint. It isn't just a Native America, that's the Indian. But everybody else came to this country, their ancestors came many years ago because they was trying to get away from tax and so many things that would definitely help them. But now this has been the center of building this country on the backs of those that illiterate to what's going on and so forth. So that's what happened, where we are concerned at this time. We own it. We're not trying to hurt anybody, not undermine anybody. But what we're trying to do is do something for ourselves. And the only way we can do that, food, shelter, and clothing. Now, with that, we can become independent. And we need to work together to get that done. And the only thing that has kept us apart, because they understand divide and conquer. To keep us from working together, they use things to destroy our confidence in one another, turn us against one another. But we've got to find out what really is keeping us apart, and that is working together. Working together, we can deliver ourselves from every angle there is.
Yes, sir.
And farming the land is number one. It produces all manhood's living, and we feel that at this time, if they understand our government, and I'm not against the government, but I'm aware of one thing, and they are not supporting us as a people as they should, because that mentality, slave mentality, is still hanging over our heads. But we got to overcome it, and that is by working together and developing some things for ourselves. So it's got to start somewhere. So I've seen here in Alabama where you could purchase land, where you could get the equipment to work the land. And from there, we can do it. I went back to Frederick Douglass. I come over there, Sojourner Truth, Mary McLeod Bethune, and different other ones tried to do this when they saw this. The latest was Dr. King. His last sermon was in Memphis, Tennessee. He said, I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. See, we missed that, the promised land. Because the promised land is where all the promises that God made us will come true, if we really understand that. And it's a lack of understanding. One great poet said many years ago, he called it the miseducation of the Negro. Miseducation. He's educated on what people want him to know, but not of his own background and where he came from and the reason he's here and what he can do here. America is one of the greatest countries there is, but we found there's criticism and negative reports and everything on us to keep us divided. And I say about the negative reports, where is the city police? Where is the sheriff department? Where is the state police? Where is the FBI, the CIA, and the Secret Service? If these things, all these rumors and things they are using against us, why don't they arrest us? Why don't they bring us in under their thumb? But they're doing it, when I say they, I'm talking about the other races. Every race that come to America seemingly is welcome here to get a hold. But we have built this country. When I say we, I'm talking about the black man. They have to build this country. They did everything they were supposed to do. And if they didn't kill them, dump them in the rivers, the waters, whatever they had to do, beat them, hang them, drag them behind cars and that and so forth, to bring them under control. Because fear, the Bible says, fear is a dangerous thing. And that's what they managed to reach us with. The Ku Klux Klan, they didn't start out killing people. They started out frightening them, scaring them.
Yes, sir.
And then from there, They found they could do what they wanted to do, and there was no one to protect them, the black folk. And that's what they done. And we lived under the fist of fear. And mothers taught their children to say yes sir, no sir, be obedient so you can live. That's what mothers were very concerned about at that time. The parents were, that their children not being lynched or hung and that and so forth. So, but at this time, in this hour, we can rise to the top. And the only way we can do that, we got to work together. There's only one way to do it, and it's the land. The Middle East, they're fighting now over the land. It's a land thing. Because once we understand the land, then we understand what's keeping this country going and the whole world going. They got to live from the land. Regardless of what city, how big it is, what the population, has nothing to do with that. Everybody has to live from the land. Even the president, the kings, all of the magistrates have to live from the ground. And when the Lord said, let the dry land come forth, we never looked into it to see really. Because we think of dry in our language is be land that won't produce. But we got to come to realize that the land brings forth, as I said this morning, all your vegetables come from there, all of your plants, everything you see comes from the land. And once we understand the land, because that's where we came from, once we understand that and buy back the land that we sold or was taken from us, or cheated us out of, and let's go back to work. The senior hall said, let's get busy. And that's the thing we got to do. And we got to do it now. We can't wait no longer. Today is the day of salvation.
Amen.
And we got to do it now. If not, disaster faces us as a people.
Hold on, Bishop. You were saying that, I want to get that on tape. You were saying, what was you saying about me?
See, we trust you because you're one of us, and you think right. See, that's what's wrong with us, our thinking. We think wrong with anything anybody say about us. We take it as facts. We never investigate. We never look at. But what you done, you came down to see for yourself what's what. That's how come we fully trust you, because we know you understand the plight of the black man and what he's trying to do and what he's got to do to free himself. And it's not hard to do. All we got to do is work together. And you understand that. And we thank God for you. So you're free in the community to talk to anybody you wish, so you can get really the picture of all of us working together. That's what make it happen.
So this corn gets about how high?
Some of this corn gets, well, you see it, you're going to dry it down through some over there. You can stand out in the middle of it and hold your hands up and can't reach the top.
That newspaper, talk about that newspaper, Jim Jones. Go ahead, you just talk.
You know, I don't remember the year, but I think it's in American history. I think everybody remember Jim Jones, the white minister that took his people, had a mixed congregation, took them over to Guyana, Africa, and they built actually a wonderful community. Some things went bad, and we know that there was a big tragedy that happened. A lot of people died. We don't really know what happened. You know, we only know what we read. But I do remember I was a little boy in high school, and I remember at school one day, my teacher, my English teacher, told me, said, Barry, if the bishop gave you some cyanide, tell you to drink it, would you drink it? And that came from It was also in the Sumter County Journal that same year, after the Guyana tragedy happened. The front page of the Sumter County Journal, one side had Jim Jones and the Guyana tragedy, / the other side had Bishop Edwards in the Holy Land. Will it be another Guyana tragedy? And those are some of the devices that they've used against our people to keep us divided. They don't want to see us work together. We're just a group of people, you know, that working together. We ain't looking for no handout. We're just looking for an equal opportunity to be a success in this country. And this is the land of opportunity. And that's all we want. It's the same opportunity everybody else got. But if we're not careful, and one thing I think Bishop mentioned about you, Reverend Brown, is that you didn't just believe what you read, you came and saw for yourself. So I would like to invite everybody that's looking at this video to come and see for yourself. Now he's filming. There's been things written about us and said about us. If they come to this community, you know, you can't get out. There's no gates on either side of the road. This is the houses that we own, that we built, that we live in. Those are our children. They're running free. That road goes straight into the County Road 14 here in Utah, Alabama. It's wide open. There are no gates. If you come in here, you can freely come in and you can freely leave. Both sides is wide open. And it's always been that way. But you know, we have a tendency of believing what we read. You know, I remember one time they did a story on us, I think it was 60 Minutes. And the reporters came and everything was, you know, they asked all the right questions. We gave all the right answers. It seemed and sounded like it was going to be such a great publicity film. So we was all waiting. Church members standing around, all of us from Christ Temple Church right here at Reach. We were sitting around the television waiting at 6 o'clock, waiting on the 60 Minutes to come on, and man, it was totally different. They took what we said, edited, took out what they didn't want the public to hear, and only put in what they wanted everybody to hear. And it completely changed our story. And from that day to this one, I've gotten to a point where I don't believe what I hear. I don't believe what I read. I only believe what I see. You know, the Bible even tells us to talk that you know, testify to that which you've seen. So only testify to that which I've seen. You know, we got to understand that there's forces in this country that don't want to see us get ahead. And we understand that. We know that. But that's not going to stop us. That's not going to slow us down. We're determined.
This is such a peaceful community.
I ain't never seen no place like that. And I done lived in some places.
So you ain't never seen a place like this? Can you kind of clarify for us in terms of when you say clients, what do you mean?
I'm hired by clients ranging from individuals to corporations to do product development, to take products from concept to market, to do product design. Now recently I switched to marketing because I learned you can have the best product in the world. If nobody knows about it, you might as well not have it. So marketing is now my specialty.
Yeah.
We didn't plant watermelons. We did some last year. About 2 years ago, we had let this property grow up. When I say grow up, it growed up.
Trees at one place when we were down here before, they were clearing the land.
Start your own factory. You can tell them.
Absolutely.
thing we, well, as a country, you know, they've gotten away from manufacturing.
They tell them, they dictate what I was But you're making McDonald's rich.
Yeah.
You're gonna make a little money. Yeah. But you constantly building McDonald's.
Right.
When are we gonna be? Years to come. Let it go all over the world. Let it become an international business like McDonald's, Walmart.
Do you grow tomatoes?
Very little. We can. You know, we do enough to put in a restaurant or something. You know, festivals and streets. And you say, well, maybe I just farm it all. Maybe plant it all in crops. You know, whatever you want to do. And that's the opportunity we want to give our children. To be able to look at their land and decide, you know what, we'll at least have an opportunity to, you know, we want to do, have some choices. We can do this with our land. Where can black children sit down and decide what they want to do on their property, on their land?
Oh, I remember back in about 1957 or 58, I came down from Brooklyn, spent a few days in Birmingham, and took mother and Aunt Bill, her sister, down to Jackson, where they sold. August.
Not sure. See that in there? Got the little brown. It's a little better, but it's still not. You see, they all real still kind of skinny. The trees. One bitch be like, oh, one day, so y'all gonna see it this year. You're gonna have corn all that.
That's amazing.
Cut that land, clear that land. They want to show us what we could do with land.
Yeah.
We ain't through yet.
Wow.
No, but just irrigation. No irrigation. Just
No irrigation.
You gotta get the.
It's a lot of corn across there.
Yeah.
Yes, and then when he grind all this up, just look at all the feed that the cows have. All the equipment is in it.
Okay. God is it.
And all you need is get it USDA certified, where you can transport meat across the country.
Is that, what does cotton look like? I don't know what cotton looks like.
Yeah, saying I'm with some guests out in the field.
Okay. That's
I'm with some
good.
guests out in the field at the moment. They was recording my voice.
Okay.
That's why I didn't answer the call.
Talk to you later. Okay. Bye-bye.
Don't forget what people.
That was Carol. She said Charles. She picked it up.
And I already forget.
Well, Brother Barry, would you introduce yourself to us and give us a little bit about your history here at Reach?
My name is Brother Barry Walker. 50 years old. Been here at Reach Incorporated for almost 40 years. Joined the church, well, my family joined the church when I was just 10 years old. Never had a public job. Have 4 children. Live at a brick home.
Is that one of the brick homes that the men of the church built?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right there. We have a neighborhood in Eutaw, Alabama, that consists of 22 brick homes, a church that sit about 300 people, and then we have a home for the aged. senior citizens home right next door to the church. That's the neighborhood. And those houses are paid for. Like I said, I started out in Reach when I was just 10 years old. All I know is Reach. I eat, breathe, sleep. Reach Incorporated. Reach started back in 1977 legally. They was incorporated in 77. But the ministry itself actually started quite a few years before then. It was started by Pastor Bishop Luke Edwards. Bishop Edwards was born in Florence, Alabama. Later moved and went into the military. Spent some time up in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And from there he felt like God was leading him back south to Meridian, Mississippi. Now, mind you, this was a time when most preachers used to say back in the day that God don't come no further than Cincinnati. Bishop had to be obedient to God's word.
All right.
So he came on back down to, God led him all the way to Meridian, Mississippi, down in the deep south. Came across a small church, apostolic church. 95% of the members was on welfare recipients. And Bishop Edwards had a very direct, very strong message. And his message was, we as a people have just as much right to create, own, and operate our own businesses. Just as much right as anybody else. Now mind you, you're talking to a group of people that's on welfare, food stamps. You know, this is considered the lower class people of our country. So no, they didn't understand. You know, this man come here talking about creating your own jobs and owning your own businesses. Never heard anybody talk like that before. But now, so yeah, they had a lot of questions. You know, how can we do that, Bishop? You know, we living from check to check, month to month. How can we do something like that? And so he had to explain to him, you know, if you can do this together, it's important to work together. So he actually showed them and actually asked them how much you were making. How much is the government actually giving you every month? So somebody actually sat down and tallied it up. Had a secretary actually found out what this one was getting, what this one was getting, what that one was getting. And then they gave him a total. And for the first time, a green light came on in everybody's mind. They saw for the first time that together, they really had enough to do something with. And Bishop's message was, you got to stick together. You can't do it by yourself. You have to do this together. By yourself, you're just making it to the next paycheck. A job is just over broke. You just getting by with a job. So he showed them together. You got enough money. All you got to do is find something to invest your money in together. At that time, there was a family or neighborhood grocery store right across the street from my church. That was back in Meridian, Mississippi. The name of the church at that time was Free Gospel Temple. And right across the street, there was a neighborhood grocery store. It's a major grocery store in that area. And at that time, the owner was ready to get out of business. Wanted to sell this business. And we had a little money at that time, but we scrapped and came up with the money to make a down payment. He stayed on, I guess, another month or so, teaching us and training us, teaching us about the business. But we was able to make a down payment and get into that business. Now, the secret was the government was paying us, you know, X amount of dollars, welfare checks, X amount of dollars, food stamps. Now, all of a sudden, we became business owners, welfare recipients, that became, now we change seats or change hats as a business owner. Took that same money that the government was giving us every month and spent it at our own grocery store. Now as a business owner, we take those food stamps and we turn them into the government, and the government paid us again. Nothing illegal about it. It'll work today. All you have to do is get enough people together to work together. You know, no fighting over the money. Just work together with the same common goal, and it'll work today. And that's what we did. We took that money, spent it with ourselves, turned that money back into the government, and they paid us again. And we invested our money. We didn't spend our money, we invested it. You know, we made a lot of sacrifices, but we invested our money. We taught our money or our dollar some sense. As Bishop Ed would say, you got to teach your money some sense. You know, once you get your hand on a dollar is not for spending, a dollar is for trading. You put that money into something that's going to make you some more money. That's why the banks don't mind giving you money to purchase a car or to buy a house. They don't mind doing that, but say you want to open up a business. Say you want to do something that's going to make some more money. You got problems, you got issues with them then. So they know if you take that money and teach that dollar some sense, invest it in something that's going to make some more money, then you can free yourself. And that's what we did. We freed ourselves. We took the money that the government was giving us and we freed ourselves. Now, you got to remember we're talking about in the deep south, Meridian, Mississippi. You know, a lot of things happen in Mississippi. And, you know, white folks don't want to see black folks at that time get ahead. They don't want us to be free. So they did, and they started on the campaign to destroy us, to stop us. And one thing we were doing, and they realized we were doing, we was buying all of our products for our store, which is this time we had, you know, we had grown from not just one store. We had about 4 stores in Meridian, Mississippi. And when they realized what we were doing, they worked on our wholesaler, the people we was buying our product from. We had to use them to make our money. So somehow, some way, they got through to them and got them to up our prices on our product to where we couldn't compete. So Bishop Edwards, instead of just throwing in the towel, giving it up, he just looked at it being an opportunity. Maybe God is leading us another direction. You know, maybe God don't want his people to be controlled like that, because they found a way to control us. So you know what? We closed all the doors up and we moved them to Alabama, to a place that we now call the Holy Land, a 55-acre strip of land in Sumter County, Alabama. And there, Bishop taught us how to farm. I remember one year, Bishop don't like appreciation service, but we talked him into giving him appreciation service. And he said, what you gonna give me? He said, we told him money. He said, you gonna give me money? Yes, sir, we're gonna give you some money. If you give me money, can I do what I want to do with the money? Yes, sir, you can do whatever you want to do with the money. He's okay, let's have the appreciation service. At the appreciation service, we gave Bishop X amount of dollars. And we thinking Bishop gonna either buy him a car or pickup truck or something. Bishop invested that money in a tractor. What preacher you know gonna take that money and invest it in a tractor? But Bishop wanted to show us how we could take that money and take that tractor, invest that money in a tractor and take that tractor and show us how to make all the money we needed to buy whatever we needed. And that's what we did. We took that tractor little bit by little bit. We started farming. We invested our money in other equipment. We raised crop. We invested our money slowly into cattle. Cattle reproduce, crop reproduce. We was able to buy more land. And
Talk about land and why land.
Yes, sir. Land. Land is something that God promised the children of Israel. You know, he led them from slavery, led them to the promised land. And the land, reason the land, because everything comes from the land. You don't need anything else if you got the land. If you have the land, you don't need anything else. Just think about it. Everything comes from the land. All of your 4 basic needs come from the land. Food comes from the land. Clothing comes from the land. Housing, it comes from land. All of your energy, water, electricity, everything, it comes from the land.